Hi, everybody. This is October 26, 2024, and I'm just coming back from my Weight Watcher meeting from Maple Ridge to Coquitlam. And these videos are part of my therapeutic journal for my recovery from watching my little brother, Paul Kierans, be locked up by the BC New Democratic Party. My little brother, Paul Kierans, 64, with Down syndrome, be locked up on September 12, 2022, till when he died on April 23rd, 2024. He was locked up by the BC New Democratic Party government with evil David Eby. When I complained to the police about a secret power of attorney that the BC New Democratic Party government had created to take all of Paul's, to give him the COVID-19 shot, and then they used it to take away all of his civil rights. They appointed my 82-year-old Catholic nun sister 4,000 kilometers away in Ontario as his guardian. She has never spent a moment alone with him or contributed a dime to his care. My other sister is an anti-vaxxer, and the BC New Democratic Party wanted to do an end round around my other sister on Vancouver Island, who's actually cared for Paul, taking him on holidays, and me. So I fought to the Supreme Court of Canada twice, trying to restore Paul's visits with me, trying to restore his civil rights. I did everything that I could think of. They told me he had a stroke on April 13th. I was allowed 10-minute visits in hospital per day, although I sat in the hallway for 10 to 12 hours a day after April 13th of 2024, and he died. I believe that he was sedated to death by the government and my sister with hydromorphone. He was recovering. He did appear to be gravely injured by a stroke or something. He had a 2-centimeter gash in the side of his head that was oozing blood. I've never got an explanation as to what caused the gash on the side of his head, about 2 centimeters above his right ear. But he appeared to be recovering. As I told you guys, he sat up in bed. He grabbed a great big coffee table book from my hand and turned the pages expertly. He looked me in the eye. He held my hand when I said, Paul, it's Kathleen. He made good eye contact. So he appeared to be recovering. When my sister found out that the police had reopened the investigation into the fraudulent and forged power of attorney, she instructed the doctor, on the treating doctor on the hospital ward at Burnaby Hospital, never, ever go or allow your loved one to be admitted to Burnaby Hospital. So my sister instructed the doctor to sedate my brother to death. She had him moved to a room where he was the only patient in the room, and there was a curtain on the door, so they couldn't see what was going on. And I believe she lied and told them he was in pain, which he was not at all. He was struggling. He loved life. And he wanted to recover. He wanted a chance to recover. And he deserved a chance. He didn't deserve to be sedated to death with hydromorphone. And you can imagine what it feels like to have my last living relative in the Lower Mainland be killed before my very eyes. That's what Hitler did. Hitler started with the disabled. He killed 300,000 people. So I tried very hard to support the Conservative Party of BC, which made a roaring comeback. And I believe that they won this election on October 19th. I did door knocking, and I also was a scrutineer in the polls. And my candidate, Hamed Najafi, won in my poll. So I believe that the Conservatives won. I mean, overwhelmingly, the feedback I got was in support of a move to the center, the away from the far leftist, horrific, fatal policies of the New Democratic Party. They ran up a $20 billion debt from a $2.5 billion surplus. They oversaw the deaths by opioid overdoses of 15,000 citizens, mostly men and boys, many of whom died with safe supply drugs supplied by the provincial NDP government. The number one cause of death in British Columbia is now, of children ages 10 to 18, is now drug overdoses. And most importantly, the BC New Democratic Party snuck past legislation to deprive our professionals, health professionals and legal professionals, of freedom of speech, so they can have their files seized by a government bureaucrat, your files, patient and client files, seized with a warrantless search. So your patient information can be seized by this government, by this legislation passed by this government, by a government bureaucrat without going before a magistrate or a judge. And they can be fined up to health professionals and lawyers can be fined up to $200,000 for expressing a viewpoint different than the government propaganda. And they can go to prison for up to 2 years for just sharing a viewpoint. You know, like Galileo expressed a viewpoint different than the government orthodoxy of his time. And the doctor who discovered that ulcers are caused by the H. pylori bacteria went against the government orthodoxy that ulcers were caused by stress. That's how we progress. That's how science progresses, is by people expressing viewpoints and testing viewpoints different than the government orthodoxy. But in British Columbia, health professionals and lawyers can go to prison for up to 2 years for expressing a viewpoint different than the government orthodoxy. And remember, the role of lawyers, the most important role of lawyers, is to fight the government. So criminal defense lawyers have to express viewpoints different than the department, the Ministry of the Attorney General or the Solicitor General or the government. So it is the role of lawyers, and I practiced law for 23 years, so it's the role of lawyers to express a viewpoint different than the government. That's the only thing that it's the thin line, the thin black line between you and the government overreach and imprisonment, etc. Anyways, so that's it for today. I hope that the Conservative government is successful in overthrowing these BC NDP evil bureaucrats. I don't think British Columbia will survive another term with the BC New Democratic Party government. And of course, it's very hard to tell because paper ballots weren't used, and it's all the voting was done digitally, which is subject to infinite manipulation and impossible to really truly scrutinize. So that's it for now. Pray for me and my little brother Paul. Thank you.